What's up, guys? It's Casey Zogelman, aka the Fourth Sanderson Sister, coming at you with another Hocus Pokemon video. Bet you thought you saw the last of this series, but haha, I got you. Today we're going to start building teams for our three original good guys, starting with the leader of the pack, Max Dennison. So sit back, relax, and let's see what happens to Max Dennison on his Pokemon journey, and stay tuned for important announcements at the end. Every new trainer needs a starter Pokemon, and as I did in the previous 3 videos for the Sanderson sisters, I'm expanding this to all Pokemon, not just the usual element trio of fire, water, and grass. Max is seen as a rather stubborn punk who just wants to prove himself to the girl he likes. Aggressive and moody, the best choice of a starter for Max is Scraggy, a fighting and dark type that evolves into Scrafty. Scrafty is the one I will focus on. This Pokemon's Pokedex entry reads, while mostly known for having the temperament of an aggressive ruffian, this Pokemon takes very good care of its family, friends, and territory. That sounds exactly like Max's personality. Scrafty can have 2 abilities, and either one works well for Max. The first ability is Shed Skin. This allows the user to cure status conditions by, well, shedding their skin. Status conditions are poison, paralysis, burn, frozen, and confused. Status conditions are something Max is also well versed in ridding himself of, as demonstrated in Hocus Pocus.
Nice going, Max. You can talk.
The other ability is called Moxie, which powers up the user's attack stat for every foe the Pokemon knocks out. This works very well for Max, who seems to get more confidence the more times he knocks the Sanderson sisters out. The resolve of both Max and his Scrafty to protect their family and friends makes these two the perfect partners. As Max and Scraggy head out together to get stronger to stand up to Max's bullies, they spend a lot of time bonding and battling. One battle in particular gets them fired up, one with a small purple mouse. The horn on its head jabs at Scraggy, but Scraggy is better. Max likes this little dude's spirit, so he tosses a Pokeball and catches a male Nidoran. Nidoran comes in female and male species that evolve into different final forms. Max's Nidoran will become Nidorino, then with the use of a Moonstone, Nidoking, a poison and ground type. Nidoking's Pokedex entry says, when it goes on a rampage, it's impossible to control, but in the presence of a Nidoqueen it's lived with for a long time, Nidoking calms down. This Pokemon fits Max as well because, as we see in Hocus Pocus, anytime Max gets frustrated and starts to throw a fit, Allison is able to settle him down. Max has a temper, and so does Nidoking, but they'd be able to balance each other out. Nidoking has 2 possible abilities, just like Scrafty did, and the first is Poison Point. If a foe hits Nidoking just right, they might get poisoned on contact. But I think the better ability to match with Max's personality is Rivalry. If Nidoking is up against an opponent of the same gender, its attack and special attack stats go up, enabling it to deal more damage. If it's up against an opponent of the opposite gender, though, Nidoking becomes less effective at dealing damage. This makes perfect sense for Max, as he, despite backing down, is absolutely rivals with Jay and Ice, and he proved he can be just as cruel as they can by leaving them the captives of the Sanderson sisters. His rivalry with them fueled that action, but when he comes up against the sisters, Max is a little less effective at dealing blows. Magic aside, he's not great at it. So, a Nidoking would be a great fit for him. Now that Scraggy has a sparring partner in Nidoran, Max heads home with his new friends. His parents congratulate him on the new Pokemon, and he says thanks before going to hide in his room. He lets his 2 Pokemon out, even though his parents said to keep them in the Pokeballs while inside, sits down at his drum set and starts banging out a rhythm. Scraggy and Nidoran bop along to their trainer's beats as Max loses himself in the music. However, even over the noise, he can hear an accompaniment. Max opens his eyes and looks around, but his Pokemon are just as confused as he is. Max follows the tapping to his window and opens the blinds to find a Grookey drumming on the window pane with a stick. Max laughs and opens the window for it, and Grookey immediately jumps onto his drum set. Max sits back down and starts again with Grookey tapping along, so Max offers a Pokeball and Grookey joins his team. I chose the grass-type Grookey, who will evolve into Thwackey and then again into Rillaboom, because of Max's passion for the drums. This Pokemon's whole thing is drumming. I'm going to focus on the middle stage evolution of Thwackey for this part, though, as its entry seems to fit Max the best. It reads, when it's drumming out rapid beats in battle, it gets so caught up in the rhythm that it won't even notice it's already knocked out its opponent. This really matches up well with how Max uses drumming to shut out the world. I know we only saw this part of Max briefly at the beginning of Hocus Pocus, but you can see how into the music he gets while Danny is chattering in his ear. This is his escape. He loses himself and just goes into the zone when he drums, much like Thwackey does in battle. Thwackey's ability Overgrow powers up the grass-type moves when its health is low, allowing him to, say, be a good force to use against 3 wicked witches. Apart from battle, I think Max and Thwackey would just have a really good friendship, and they'd bond during drumming sessions. After a couple of weeks with this Pokemon, Max is feeling pretty good about life. He had friends, he had a means to fend off the bullies. It wasn't too bad. He was out of school and heading home when Allison crossed his path. She was way more flirty with him than she normally was, which wasn't saying much, as she wasn't very flirty, period. But then Max noticed the black fluffy scarf hanging off the bottom of her jacket. Once he saw it, Allison changed into a Pokemon and ran off. It was not a scarf, it was a tail. Max then sent out his Scrafty to help him out, but the Pokemon changed into Scrafty. In the end, he took it down and decided to snatch it in case the Sanderson sisters ever showed back up. Zorua joins his team, and that Pokemon evolves into Zoroark, a dark type. The Pokedex entry reads, each has the ability to fool a large group of people simultaneously. They protect their lair with illusory scenes. This would be a very good team member for Max, as he has the innate ability to pull a fast one on the Sanderson sisters by tricking them with modern time equipment and concepts. He made his own illusions via the Burning Rain of Death.
Hey! You mess with the great and powerful Max. And now must suffer the consequences. He summoned the burning rain of death.
He makes fire in his hand.
And Daylight Savings Time.
Maybe not. But there's a power greater in your magic. And that's knowledge. Hey, come on, man. And there's one thing that I know that you don't.
No. And what is that, dude?
Daylight savings time.
Daylight savings time.
Zoroark's ability Illusion would help Max step up his game against the witches to the next level by creating real illusions to trap them in. Zoroark uses these illusions to protect their young Zoruas, like Max protects Danny by tricking the witches. Zoroark would be indispensable on Max's team. Max and his 4 Pokemon get along better than Max does with his family. His Pokemon understand him better than his parents, and he's so tired of being told what to do and when, like he didn't save Salem on Halloween. Moody and upset, Max heads down to the beach in Salem to take some time for himself. He goes to sit down on the sand, but a screech causes him to stop as a Pokemon appears as if from nowhere. He stepped on its tail. The Pokemon shoots him with water, and Max yells back at him, but it's got his attitude. They call a truce and sit down together, Max letting out all his frustrations and it listening to them. Eventually, Max says goodbye and plans to head back to his house. However, the Pokemon follows him. Max catches his next team member, Drizzile. Drizzile is a water-type Pokemon that evolves from Sobble and then into Inteleon, but I think Drizzile fits Max the best. Its Pokedex entry says, highly intelligent but also very lazy. It keeps enemies out of its territory by laying traps everywhere. Drizzile likes its privacy, and it hates when outsiders try to come into its territory. It can also turn itself invisible at will, like a chameleon blending into its surroundings. This sounds a lot like our boy Max. We see how he values his privacy at the beginning of Hocus Pocus with the keep out signs on his door and how angry he gets when he finds Danny in his room. The traps Drizzile sets work great for the traps Max sets for the Sanderson sisters, including the ones deleted from the school scene, like dropping a bag. It was either a bag or a box of tennis balls on them from several stories up. Drizzile has the ability Torrent, which powers up moves when the Pokemon's health is low, which would be great support, like Thwacky's Overgrow. Plus, they both look like moody teenagers and would be great supporters of each other. Max has been begging his dad to teach him how to drive for months now, but his dad continues to put it off. Frustrated, Max takes his bike for a ride around Salem. While he rides through the streets, a rush of air passes him, and he looks around to see what was up. Up ahead, he catches sight of a huge lizard running by, but it was also riding on tires. Max kicked his pedaling up and followed the Pokemon, and it kept looking back at him and grinning. Was it racing him? Eventually, Max ran out of steam and had to stop. He did a double take as the big lizard with a tire on his chest sat next to him, panting happily. Max then catches his sixth and final team member, Cyclizar. A dragon normal type, this Pokedex entry reads, it can sprint at over 70 miles per hour while carrying a human. The rider's body heat warms Cyclizar's back and lifts the Pokemon's spirit. Who needs to drive a car when you can motorbike on the back of a dragon? Cyclizar and Max would be the best of friends between bike racing and Max riding on his back. Cyclizar has the ability Shed Skin, which lets it instantly heal status conditions, just like Scrafty. Not to mention, Cyclizar would be indispensable when it comes to outrunning the Sanderson sisters. Cyclizar would be an excellent distraction for the witches and any spells they sling. For instance, Sarah's song would be healed off by Shed Skin. Max would have a new way to ride around Salem, and he wouldn't have to fight his dad for driving lessons anymore, either. Besides that, showing up to school in a Cyclizar would earn Max major popularity points with other students. While out riding Cyclizar around Old Burial Hill one day, Max senses something is a little off. He asks Cyclizar to sniff around and the pair investigate the graveyard. They stumble upon a glowing orb emitting weird magic. Max worries this has something to do with the Sanderson sisters, so he grabs a rock and prepares to smash it until he feels a rush of air behind him. Max turns and sees a blue and white dragon looking at him nervously. A Pokemon. Max holds up the orb and the dragon pokes it lovingly before touching its claw to his heart and nodding. It's at this moment Max realizes he needs to battle and capture the legendary Pokemon Latios. Latios is a dragon and psychic type that is part of a brother-sister duo, much like Max and his little sister Danny. Latios can understand human speech, which allows it to communicate with a trainer better. Its Pokedex entry states, Latios will only open its heart to a trainer with a compassionate spirit. This Pokemon can fly faster than a jet plane by folding its forelegs to minimize air resistance. While a moody teenager on the outside, Max has a very compassionate spirit. He spends the entirety of Hocus Pocus doing everything in his power to keep his sister, his new friend, and Salem safe from the wrath of the Sanderson sisters. The most compassionate moment for Max was in the graveyard.
What a fool to give up thy life for thy sisters.
This really mimics how Latios in the movie Pokemon Heroes, which I highly recommend watching if you haven't, sacrifices itself for its sister, Latias. Latios has the ability Levitate that negates ground-type moves. Latios would also put Max on equal ground, or in this case, air, with Winifred. That glowing orb I mentioned is a Soul Dew, which is an item exclusive to Latios and Latias. When Latios holds the Soul Dew, its power increases. Latios can also Mega Evolve, which would give Max a leg up against the Sanderson sisters. But, as he can only have 6 Pokemon in his team at a time, Max would be able to call on Latios by using the Soul Dew to summon him. So there you go, those are my picks for Max's Pokemon team. Scrafty, Nidoking, Thwacky, Zoroark, Drizzile, and Cyclizar, with Latios as his legendary partner. What do you guys think? Do you agree with my picks, or would you have chosen different Pokemon? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you are new to my channel, please remember to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't. It's free, it helps me, and what helps me helps you guys get more great content like this. They can't all be serious, folks. This is just fun. Speaking of Pokemon, Black Flame Gaming is back Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we will continue playing the fan-made game, Pokemon Dark Violet, as Sarah Sanderson. On April 16th at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll be going live with a special birthday stream where I will open fan mail from you all and do a live Q&A session. If you can get this channel to reach 1,450 subs by then, I'll be dressing up as my own 4th Sanderson sister, which you all have been begging me to see. Get us to 1,500, and I'll do it as a full cosplay. On July 16th at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll be doing a special 30th anniversary watch-along of Hocus Pocus Trivia and Treats Edition here on the channel to celebrate the movie's, you guessed it, 30th anniversary. Please consider joining our Discord and connect with your fellow witches and wizards. Link is in the About section of the channel. If you're a regular on this channel, please remember to drop a like and share your thoughts on this topic down below. The engagement really helps the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Casey Zogelman, aka the 4th Sanderson Sister, and I will see you witches and wizards later.
I am